Welcome everyone to the Reading Writing Corner. I am your host, Leanne. And if you've been here before, welcome back. And if this is your first time, pull up a seat, sit down, and we are going to talk about non-spoiler review as part of the video of The Hunt for Atlantis by Andy McDermott. This is part of a series called the Nina Wild and Eddie Chase series. Now about the series. American archaeologist Nina Wild and her something or another, can't say that for this one, ex-SAS bodyguard Eddie Chase are here for the first ever heart-stopping, globe-spanning adventure. Of course, this is the book that set off the series. What made me read this book? The first time around it sounded great, and now that I am doing book reviews, I'm going to refresh my memory and give it to you for an honest review. So, the blurb: a lost civilization, a dangerous quest, a deadly secret. It's one of history's most enduring and controversial legends, the lost city of Atlantis. Archaeologist Nina Wild is certain she solved the riddle of its whereabouts, and with the help of reclusive billionaire Kirsten Frost and his beautiful daughter Carrie and ex-SAS bodyguard Eddie Chase, she's about to make the most important discovery in centuries. But not everyone wants them to succeed. A powerful and mysterious organization will stop at nothing to ensure that a secret submerged 11,000 years never resurfaces. More than one would-be discoverer has already died in pursuit of Atlantis' secrets, including Nina's own parents. Failure isn't an option. From the streets of Manhattan to the Brazilian jungle, from a Tibetan mountaintop to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, Nina and Eddie will race against time and follow a trail of danger and death through a revelation so explosive it could destroy civilization forever. Nina Wild never thought she would discover anything life-altering on her hunt for Atlantis, but when an ex-SAS bodyguard Eddie Chase came into the picture, everything about her life changed drastically. The setup of characters were quick and to the point in order to flesh out some of the characters' motives, hiding some motives in order for Nina to be ready to hear the real motive of the characters. How the characters react to the situation. How do they? The characters react how I would guess they would if they were being hunted down while trying to discover something that has been in hiding for the longest of time. I mean, like if I was going on a hunt for something that I was hiding and I was being hunted, I imagine I would react the same way. Oh my god, I'm being hunted. I still gotta discover this. The genre is considered to be mystery and thriller, even though it does have a touch of romance, and it is some mystery and thriller. Did this live up to my expectations? Yes, the action was great. The downtime between actions was perfectly placed. The characters made me want to either hug or kill them depending on who they were. Which character did I relate to the most? Nina, because I do believe Atlantis is real. However, I know that we will never find it and that Atlantis could possibly be another civilization already discovered and just labeled something else. For all we know. What secondary character stood out the most? Eddie, because he was thrilled to be in the situations of life and death as long as he had the weapons to deal with. I mean, he always had a smile on his face, a grin, some type of quip going on and joke that he could spew out of his mouth as he's shooting down his foes. What was more important? The character plot. The plot. The characters drove the plot forward as it was all about discovering Atlantis for the most part and setting up who Nina Wild and Eddie Chase were. It had multiple voices, although two voices took up the most of the book and did not affect my reading. I'm going to end this part of the non-spoiler review with, should you go and read the story/series? Yes, if you enjoy action, thriller, mystery, life and death situations, romance dashed in, betrayal, and men who love to flirt with women for fun. I'd read it. Now, if you'll drop me a comment, a like, or a subscription on your way out the door before the spoiler section begins, please do so. I will see you next time in another non-spoiler review. I promise. Okay, in this book you meet the main character, side character, and important main characters for this book, and some of them for the rest of the books series. You have Henry Wild, father to Nina Wild, an Atlantis-obsessed scholar. He dies in Tibet because Jack betrays him. They were close to discovering a new Atlantis and the last king and queen of New Atlantis. Laura Wild, mother to Nina Wild, scholar and obsessed with Atlantis. She dies in Tibet because Jack, of course, betrays her. They were close to, of course, discovering New Atlantis and the last king and queen of the New Atlantis. Nina Wild, she's the main focus of the story, obsessed with Atlantis too. She also had Atlantis DNA like her parents. One of her parents probably did. Or maybe both of them. Who knows? We'll never know. She does find Atlantis, and she does discover the two locations of the New Atlantis. And because of her, the queen and king, the last one of Atlantis, New Atlantis, are also discovered. Eddie Chase, an ex-SAS Special Forces turned bodyguard, turned boyfriend at the end of the novel to being her husband at one point or another, but I don't remember where or which book. But yeah. He was hired by Christian Frost to protect Nina. He took his job very seriously. He knew how to handle pain because he got injured a lot and how to handle weapons. He got injured a lot throughout this book. And he just like, oh, it's not broken. Let's move on. Serious. What is it with men and having to tough out injuries like they're nothing? Sometimes you just need to have a good cry. Have a good cry, Eddie. You need one. You need to have a good cry, okay? Carrie Frost, daughter of Christian Frost, she had Atlantis DNA. She knew most of her. She also wanted to help her father take over the world because she believed only Atlanteans deserved to live. She died from the plane that she was on because it crashed into her father's lab. Oh, and Nina kind of shot her, so she was already dying from that. Christian Frost, founder of the Frost Foundation, in order to find Atlantis and pure Atlantean DNA in order to wipe out anyone without the DNA or variant of it from the world. He died from his own plane being crashed into his lab because Eddie steered it that way to prevent the virus that was going to kill off millions of people from being spread around. Jack, or Jonathan Philby, he works for the Brotherhood of Celophones, light bearers, to protect the secret that is Atlantis from the world and Christian Frost. He betrayed Henry and Laura while getting them killed. Instead of explaining to them, hey, look, you need to not work for these people, they're evil. He also betrayed Nina Wild, almost getting her killed. He should have just said, hey, you shouldn't be working for Christian Frost. He wants to take over the world, he's evil. He was the first person infected with the virus that would kill all non-Atlantean descendants, and he doesn't die from it, although it is killing him. What he dies from is a plane crashing into the lab he was being held inside of. Giovanni Corbaros, the current leader of the Brotherhood of Celophanes, he stopped at nothing to bury the secret Atlantis in its efforts to protect the world. He died in a bet where the second Atlantis existed. He was shot by Kirsten Frost. Jason Startman, he worked for the Brotherhood of Celophanes. He was actually Eddie's buddy, but Eddie's wife lied to him saying that he had slept with her, which he tells Eddie, you know, I didn't sleep with your ex-wife. They went back to working together when Eddie was betrayed by Kirsten Frost. He died either from a gunshot wound to the stomach or drowning. Not sure which actually killed him, because he was already dying from the gunshot wound when he fell into a river, taking out Frost's security. So, who knows what actually ended up killing him. Joseph Snike, head of the Frost Foundation security, he died by helicopter exploding in a ball of fire thanks to Nina hitting the gas tank while it had already been on fire. There's a lot of helicopters that go down in this story. A lot. Falak Hajar, the middleman that was helping Yuri sell an item to Frost but betrayed Yuri and Frost for money. He killed Yuri and was going to kill Kara until Nina turned off the power. He died from a chopper exploding. A different one than the one that killed Joseph Schnick. Hugo Castillo, a buddy of Eddie, he almost died from 3 separate choppers exploding, and Joan was one almost landing on him. But in the end, he did die from one impaling him through the stomach. He fought to protect Kari and Nina, thinking that they were both good. But then he died trying to save Nina, because he realized that the other one was bad. Havez Marendejan, a buddy of Eddie's, he got shot on a train trying to rescue Nina and had to stay out of the rest of the adventure. He never came back. There were also 2 women talked about in this who helped Eddie out of tough, sticky situations. Both of them were pregnant, but they were pregnant by their husbands, not him. Captain Mahad, an army guy that was going to throw Hugo and Havez into jail along with Nina after assaulting her. He died from the train fight. Captain Augustine Perez, he was the captain of the Nereid. It was a ship. He died when it was bombed by Starkman and the ship exploded. Agnaldo de Salvo, he was from the Brazilian government that hunted down lost tribes in South Africa in order to have them be protected. He was their guide in South Africa when they discovered the first Atlantis. He was injured, but he did survive. Hamilton Pendry, an environmentalist that died by spear through his body by a lost tribe member that was protecting the New Atlantis in South America. Gunter, he's only mentioned once. He was someone that worked for the Brotherhood of Selphines, but he thought he figured out where Atlantis was by reading the map, but he read it wrong. And his estimations were wrong. Captain Leo Mathis, captain of the Evanor ship, he survived his ship going down thanks to Nina bartering for the crew's life. I mean, few people did die. Few of the crew members did die beforehand, but she bartered for the rest of them with her life and a New Atlantis. Jean Ballard, a Canadian that had the Atragum built. It was an underwater submarine that could find anything underwater. It also had a remotely operated vehicle on it that could get into tight spaces. It was destroyed along with the Elvenar because it was attached to Elvenar, and then it just went. Matt Truly, a Canadian best friend with Jim. He had the Shark Dozer built, a self-contained underwater excavator that could clear sand and debris from anywhere. It exploded, killing Matt as he tried to race to the surface to stop himself from drowning because it did get cracked. He didn't know there was a bomb attached to him when he was trying to go up, and when he realized that it was too late for him to escape. He died. There are several POVs within the stories, and those are Nina Wilde, Eddie Chase, Carrie Frost, Henry Wilde, and Kirsten Frost. My favorite character was Eddie. He always had a grin on his face and a joke on his lips, even when things looked like it was going to shit and he needed to fight for his life for someone else's life. My most disliked character was Kirsten Frost because he wanted to kill off most of the population in the world so he could be king of the world and save it from destruction because he believed Atlanteans were the superior race. Remind you of anything? Anything at all? In real history? It was told in chronological order with appropriate language for an action-packed adult adventure. The foreshadowing of betrayal is scattered throughout the book. The details left behind that Carrie and her father had more to their plans than just finding Atlantis. The suspense of whether the characters were going to survive their life and death situations. The background of characters in Atlantis were explored thoroughly throughout the book. It was interesting to read about what Atlantis had been like, where they had tried to build their new homes after Atlantis sank based on what Andy McDermott thought Atlantis was and everything. The title of the book meant people were hunting for Atlantis, and one who found it first would either save it or murder others to protect its secret. The cover of the book shows mountains. I don't know whether they're desert or not. Two people running in an airplane in the background up here. The airplane could be the one that almost killed billions of people by releasing a virus that would have affected practically everybody. What stood out as memorable was that Kirsten and Carrie thought the Atlanteans were a superior race that deserved to rule the world, and the extent he would go to do it. I mean, killing billions of people is kind of extreme. My favorite passage from the story is Eddie, she whispered. Losing him once had been bad enough. Twice was almost too much to bear. Her eyes filled with tears. So, Nina was already sort of somewhat in love with Eddie by this point in the book, where she thought he died once and then died twice. She thought he died, and at the second time that he literally died. And it's interesting to read her thoughts on that. My favorite quote, if you two are not married, you should be. Shala, one of the pregnant ladies I mentioned earlier, said with a smile, stunning them both into silence as Cassiel and Neves burst out loud, because the two of them were talking in an argumentative married couple's type of way, and she's like, if you two are not married, you should be. You fit each other, you match each other. Two opposites of the side of the coin, you know? What I thought about the end of the book, it was great. The bad guys died, the evil plan stopped, Nina and Eddie end up as a couple, and Nina gets the best job in the world, hunting down legends to see if they're true or not in order to protect them from evil people. Eddie gets to be her bodyguard and lover. What book did it remind me of? A little bit of Angels and Demons by Dan Brown, even if the main couples are the opposite gender. Because Dan Brown is the main character and Nina Wilde is the main character in this one. Robert Langdon is the main character in Angels and Demons. And Nina Wilde is the main character of this one. And the love interest are the opposite genders. This book, as you know, is part of a series called Nina Wilde and Eddie Chase. It is so far has 17 books in one novella. I rate this book a 4.5 because of the thrill and action coupled with the adventure. It would have been better if the evil plan had been better thought out and maybe not take over the world type of deal by killing billions of people. Alright, so if you think I deserve a like, comment, or even your lovely subscription, drop it down below. I will see you next illusion.